Hello guys, welcome to our today's tutorial on CuteLuks. Today I will be explaining the difference between the princess dart bustier and the princess dart itself that we have on our regular English gown. I'm actually having these two videos because some of us still have issues to identify the difference between the princess dart, like we have a regular dart, and the princess dart bustier that looks like a buzz cut when we're making our breast tube on a blouse or on a gown. So while we're about to start this video, go and follow us on our Facebook channel, like us on our YouTube here, CuteLuks, drop your comments, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. So I won't be taking too much time, and then I'll explain to you the difference between the both of them, so we won't be having much issues about how to work on our princess dart bustier and our princess dart, because on our WhatsApp forum there, some people are still having issues to identify the princess dart bustier, how to go about the armhole, how to go about to connect the princess dart, where should the dart be placed if you're working on a half length to connect the down part of the gown, if you're working on it on the jumpsuit or you're making an A-line blouse. So in this video I'm going to make it very easy for you guys. So as it is, I am facing the table already, so I'll start working and show you how it's done. Alright guys, we are here on the table. I'm going to make this a quick one, but while I'm about to start, I'm going to be taking it step by step so you won't be having issues of each of the points I took. So you concentrate so that you understand whatever I'm making, so you don't have issues on it anymore. Here I have my measurements. My length says 24, and you can see my bust, my waistline, my half length, my hip, my nipple points, and my nipple to nipple, under bust, and that's it. So here I'll be coming down to this place. So you see, since my measurement of the length says 24, I'm going to mark my 24 up here, because this is going to be a blouse with a shoulder, so that you understand why everything is placed at 8 points. So this is my 24 here. And because we have the shooting part at the front side of our body as women, and the back is relaxed, I'm going to come down here and add 1 inch for my hemming. I'm going to come up again and add another ½ inch around here and add another ½ inch. Some of you might be saying, why am I adding 2 instead of 1.5? 1.5, yes, no doubt, but because of my kind of shoulder slant, I always slant with 1.5, and then I end up losing ½ inch. So for me not to lose it out on my measurement, I always add my ½ inch to my measurement. So I'm going to place my tape here and add 2 inches on that 24, and then I'll rule it out. So this is it. I'm going to take my shoulder. Sorry, I didn't write my shoulder on the measurement. My shoulder here says 16, and the kind of sleeve I want to use on this clothes is a sleeve that has a pleating at the shoulder angle. So I won't be needing extra ½ inch to join that sleeve, so that when I finish pleating it directly on my 16 inches to fall in between 15 inches and then relax perfectly on the shoulder. But if it's a regular English sleeve you want to use, you need this extra ½ inch to work, so it will just relax directly on the shoulder. So I'm using 16 inches here. I'll mark my 16 inches, and then I'll take my tape and take my shoulder slant, which is going to be 1.5. You might like to use 1. It's up to you which of them you prefer to use, but don't forget to always study your client's body measurements to know if they have a slopey shoulder or an up shoulder. Most people that have the up shoulder, you can work with them at 1 inch or 1/4 here. As for me, most times I always use 1.5 inch here. So when you take that 1.5 inch, you don't just start taking your neck measurement. Make sure you relax it this way. Put your ruler and connect it to the neck point. You see what I did here? I've gotten my shoulder. Without my shoulder, I cannot have a neck. Don't rush and start taking neck measurement. It affects your clothes real good. Now you will find out that ½ inch has gone out of here. That is the ½ inch I added here. So this is it. I will be needing a shoulder slant of 3.5 inches here, because I want to make a V-neck and I don't want the V to be very, very wide. So I'm going to be taking the depth. I want it not too wide but deep, so I'm going to be using the length of my V as 8.5 inches, so that when I finish working, to end up at, when I finish sewing with 1/2 inch, it will end at 9 inches down here, and it will be looking very lovely and not so wide. So I'll connect my neck now. So you see, this is how the shoulder will relax. So when you're sewing, everything will just go accurately, because nobody's shoulder is actually straight. And then talking about the armhole, not everybody has the armhole length of 8 inches. At the end, you find out that you might end up having 7.5, and somebody, you look at the person's hand that is very big, will end up being able to pass through 7.5 inches. But because we're working on a princess that bustier here, we'll be needing allowance around the armhole, because we'll be taking some measurements off the armhole. So this measurement here, I would like to use 8 inches for my armhole, but because of my allowance taken here, I'll be marking down 8.5 inches. So what I have around my shoulder here, which is 8, I will place it down here and take my 8 all the way, so that I can connect with my armhole. So you see, for my shoulder, I'll take it down and then to this point. Yes, so this is my armhole length. You can see it here. And for so many of us having issues with bust length, and so that there's no specific inch for bust length, depend on the body size of the person and the person's bust. The bust of the person I have here is bust 38, in which this person can work with 11 inches or 11.5. Some people might want to use 10.5, depending on how the bust of the person is and how good you can manage your bust line and make sure it comes out actually right. We don't have a specific measurement, but right here I'll be using 11.5 inches around here. So this was 11.5 inches to serve as my bust length here, because the measurement I have is almost close to 40, which is 38. So I'll be using 11.5 inches. Then this is our bust line here. Since this is the length, this line will stand as our line, and then I'll be taking my half length. My half length says 16.5. This is it. I won't be placing 16.5 direct. I'll be placing 17, because once I sew with 1/2 inch, the 16.5 will go up. So I need that 1/2 inch. When I hold it, it still goes to the point of 16.5. So I'll leave my measurement here at my 16.5. Don't forget, once you slant your shoulder, your measurement should always start from the point of the wideness of your neck, not the line we have up here. Please, this serves as a measurement, because this one is now now a waist out of this measurement, so you don't need here. If you add here, you'll be adding measurements. Can you see? I'm now having 17.5, which is not the person's half length. So from this point, I have my 17 inches. I'm going to rule out my half length. This is it here. I have my half length, and there you can see this place is called the hip. So I'm going to make here my armhole, and this is going to be my bust line. This is my half length, or you call it the waistline, because some of us don't know we have 2 waistline. We have the waistline for our top, and we have that of our skirt and our trouser, except the trouser or the skirt is going to be a high waist. That's when you'll be using the upper waist measurement to work on that particular clothes. Now, since it's going to be a princess that bustier, I'm going to be taking my nipple point, and my nipple point says 10 inches. I'm going to be using, because this person does not have a big bust. The person has just a moderate size bust, and she's not too tall. If it's somebody that is taller with that bust measurement, you can use 11 inches for her, depending on the body. Once you place it and you see that it's a person that has a shooting bust, you find out that the person is having 11 inches for nipple points and 14.5 inches for the under bust. But in this case, she does not have a very shooting bust. So what we have on her body is 10 inches for her nipple points. But I'll be adding 1/2 inch, because we have the shooting angle at the front side, like I mentioned before taking this measurement. So these are 10.5 inches. Her under bust says 13. Most times before we get our under bust, we'll get, let's say, 3 inches. We count down to 3 inches. This is my 10.5, and I'm going to count down to 3 inches. This is like 1, 2, 3. Can you see it's 13? So I'm going to be adding ½ inch under of it to make it correspond to my 3 inches. Can you see? So if you feel the person is very busty and you feel the clothes might jump up from the person's underbust, try to be on the safe side and fall back under this half here. Don't be afraid to try it. Add extra half to have 3.5 inches, so that once it comes, it will just fit in under the person's bust direct. So having 3 inches or 3.5 inches is not a big deal. Just make sure you be on the safe side. So I'm going to be working on that 3.5 inches so you see it clearly. So I'll rule this here. I'll rule my nipple point out here, and then this place is my underbust plus half. I'm going to rule it out as well. And so this is my nipple point, and underbust. So that's it. You can see all bodies are out, starting from the shoulder to the armhole, or you could call it the what they call it. You can call this is the armhole. Some people funny call this place the chest line. No, this is not your chest line. This place at most times around 5 inches. This is where we have our chest. 5, 7, 8. Not your armhole. This is where you can get your chest line up here. That's why it's easy for us to cover around that 5 inches to fit to the chest line of our body. Women, most times, we don't always use chest. It's men that has the round chest, and our own is the round bust. So if you want to know your chest line, maybe you're making a tube, that's where you come to this upside. But since we're not making a tube, we won't be having any issues with the chest line. We'll be walking down here. So I'm going to start taking our measurements one after the other. So we've gotten our nipple point, and this is our bust line. Around the bust line, I'm going to be taking my 38 inches divided into 4 places this way. This is 38. I'm going to divide 38 into 2. I have 19, and I'm going to divide the 19 again into 2. Can you see? So I have 9.5 inches here. I'm going to place it at this point. Don't forget, your material should be on fold so that you'll be having the piece of your material complete. You see, this is single. So when I place it on my material on fold, I have every measurement intact. So I've gotten my 9.5. I'm going to add my 1 inch for sewing, 1 inch for ease, and then my sewing allowance of 2 inches. In total of 4 inches I have here. I feel like this is too much. Let me use 1.5. So it's correct now. This is my 1 inches, my 1.5 to give me a total of 4 inches here. And then I'll come to my under bust measurement here. Since the waistline is giving me 32, like I said, which is 38, which is 8 inches. When you divide your 32 into 4, it's going to give you 8 inches. I'm going to come up here and reduce here, because at most times our under bust, it's a bit smaller than the waistline. So I'm going to go in here, take 7 3/4 around here, you can see, and then I'm going to take my extra ease, the dart joining, and then my sewing allowance, you can see, and then my waist measurement, which is 32, I have here. You can see into 2 is 16. I'm going to divide 16. You see is 8. I'm going to place it here. Can you see they are almost close? And then I'm going to take what I'm going to minus from my under bust here. I'm going to be minusing 1 inch and 1.5, and I'm going to add 1 inch to sew back, and then my sewing allowance of 1.5 inches. Can you see? And then I'm going to come here. Oh, sorry, around the under bust, I'll be needing the same measurement I'm taking away from the waistline. I have my 1 inch and I have my 1.5 as well, and I'm going to be having my sewing allowance and my closure allowance. That's the seam allowance. You can see it's corresponding now. And then around the waist, our waist says 44. This is my tape here. I'm going to take my 44 and divide into 2 first. It's going to be giving me 22. and then I'll divide my 22 into 2 again. That makes a total of dividing into 4. It's giving me 11. So I'm going to place it here, my 11 here. I'm going to add my 1 inch allowance, another 1 inch as well for the dart, and then 1.5 inches for seam allowance. Now I'm going to connect each of these points this way, from my armhole to the bust line to the under bust, coming down to the waistline, and then I'll connect to the hip this way. Can you see the blouse is out? And so at this edge, we're not going to leave this edge this way. We're going to lift it up a little so it will relax. So some people use 2 inch, and then you can see you have it up here. But some people prefer using 1.5. I prefer using 1.5 so my blouse does not hang. So this is my 1.5 inches here. I'm going to be curving it with my hip curve this way. So you might have seen some of these blouses on our mama's body. This is how they're done. You see, everything is out now. So we're going to prepare this side so you understand what we mean by the princess dart bustier. So our nipple to nipple says 7.5 inches. These are 7.5, right? Okay, it says 7 inches. These are 7 inches here. Like I said, the person does not have a wide body, and she doesn't have more of the shooting part on the body, but she's just normal. So her nipple to nipple says 7 inches, which when we divide it into 2, this was 3.5 inches around here. So this is it. I'm going to be adding 1/2 inch to this to make it 4 inches around here. You can see, to make it 3 3/4 instead. So this is my 3 3/4 here. I'm going to place it. This 3 3/4, then you add 1/2 inch forward, so that when you're sewing, it will fall directly on the point of that person. Because of his 7 inches doesn't mean you use your direct 3 inches here. You find out that it's coming in between your bust. Add 1/4 to it if possible. Add 1/2 and use a total of 4. But if you feel like it's going to run out of her bust line, her bust point, no problem. Add 1/4 to it like I have here, and add and point it here and add 1/2 to it. So you can see I'm having 4/4 here. I'm going to place that 4/4 all the way down. This is it. I'll take it all the way down here and bring it up here as well. I'm stopping here. You can as well roll it up to this place, no problem, but I'm stopping here. So I'm going to take this and connect the ruler with the points down. So this is it. I'm going to come to the under bust and take my 1.5 inch out and 1 inch here, because it's a blouse. But if I'm making anything that is having connection to the downside, I'm going to add more here so that my dart measurement will be connecting real good with the downside. I'm going to be explaining that on the princess dart. But if you're also making a bustier that is connecting to the downside, we're going to be adding extra to this. But because this is a blouse, it's just going to go away down. It's just the standard measurement to be working with it. So I have my 1 inch backward here, and then at the front side here, I'm going to be bring it out 1.5 inches. So I'll come down here and take the same thing here so they will correspond, and then come to this downside and take 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch. That's why I added this 1 inch here and 1 inch to hold back, and then 1.5 inches to sew here, so we don't have excess around this angle. So I'm going to be connecting this way. Can you see? I have this. You see it? So you see the way it is. So this is my under bust looking at me. So this is at the main part where so many of us have issues with princess that bustier. This is my 5 inches, like I mentioned. This 5 inches at most times serves as our chest point, so that when that bust cup is coming, it relaxes flat around that angle. So I'm going to come outside and take 1.5 inches, or you call it 1.5 inches. Then come to this line as well. I'll mark half up, half down. I'll take that again. From my shoulder point, I took 5 inches. I'll come at the front side and take 1.5 or 1.5 inches front. Come to the point of that 5 inches, mark half up, half down, and then I'm going to connect this. The side part of our bust will maintain the 1.5 inches. The upper part, which is the center part of our bust, will be maintaining only 1 inch to work with it. So I'm going to be connecting this with our hip curve. So this is my nipple point here. This is what it will look like. I have this way. Then when I come here, I'm going to gently take this. Can you see? This is definitely going to leave, and this is what will remain. Can you see how I shaped it? Carefully. You shape it. Make the side very full. It's meant to be fuller than the center part. Can you see it? And then when it comes to the center part, I'm going to do this. You might like to use your French curve, or you use your free hand. Can you see? You can use this. Shaping it very well. Yeah, this is it here. This is the correct one here. And then you connect it. The reason why we have this space is because of the bulgy parts of this corner. So when you're sewing, it's just like you have your dart to hold around this area. That's how this place is. So we must always have this place half inch out. If not, you'll be having puff around the armhole area. So this place is stopping at 1 inch, and here will be stopping at 1.5 inches up there. So about the armhole side, somebody asked about how to connect the armhole. Yeah, this is it. Don't take it deep down. No, it's from this point you connect to this one here, and then leave this place to connect to this part. This is what it's going to look like on your princess that bustier. You can see the shape is out, your neck is out, your shoulder is out, everything is relaxed. You can see. So I'm going to be cutting this out so you see how it's supposed to look when you're done. I'm going to take this carefully from here. Don't forget, like I said, unfold please. So the waistline, under bust, then you slant your hand a little. So you see, I'm coming up here. This is my 1 inch. I'm going to do this to connect with my shoulder point. I take off the neck. So this is the front side. I'm going to be cutting out the side. Can you see that the shape of the bust is out now? And so up here, I'm going to be taking this to meet this point. You take it out. So guys, can you see? Then you make a pattern for this and then place on your material. If you feel like it's still not looking as much as you want, then you reduce the fullness around here so you don't have it bulging. You need it to be looking relaxed, so when you finish making it, no pointing out like some of the ones that could blind your eyes when they're done making it. So you see what your Princess Dart Bustier A-line blouse will look like when you're done making it. So but if you're making this idea to connect with the down part of a gown, like I said, you won't be using your direct measurement. You can see I have shortage around here. An A-line blouse doesn't have issues with all that. This is the main place an A-line blouse actually needs to correspond real good. Because this area now, if you're working on something that have a half length and you need to connect, you need here to be a bit wider, because if you're that point of 7 inches, which is meant to be 3.5 inches, you can see I'm having direct 3.5 inches instead of 4 around here, so that when I sew with ½ inch, it will still give me my 3.5 inches. So you just need to be very careful with your calculation when you're working. But this is just the best idea of how to make your Princess Dart Bustier. So when you connect it, you can see they're corresponding. Can you see? Some people say they always have shortage around here. Now that's because of you're actually working with 1.5 inch, 1.5 inch. So no, you need to reduce this one and make this one longer. So when you finish sewing on your machine, they'll fall equal. Can you see? This one should never be short. If it goes short, it will affect the curving of your armhole. It's meant to be more. If you notice now why I brought the both of them together, they were connected together, or you can see before the measurements were together. But while I'm about to push back for it to relate, see where my measurement is now. So once it's together like that, when you're done sewing, you come back to your shoulder point and measure out your 8.5 inches, because once you hold your shoulder half, it will become 8 inches. You measure out and then take back your tape, your shoulder measurement, which is 8. You take ½ inches down. When you take, listen carefully, this is it. Once you join it, this is it. They're now equal. You take this down here and mark. So around this corner, when you're done joining your material, you see they're now equal. Then you take from up here, take your armhole length, bring out your chest length, which is 5 inches. Place your tape this way, bring out your shoulder points, mark it all down to the length of your armhole, and then take ½ inch inside of that 5. You can see ½ inch inside, and then curve your armhole from that angle. You can see that's when you can have this to correspond to it, because you're coming with a sleeve. When you come with that sleeve, the sleeve again will take another ½ inch inside. Can you see? So you need that ease at least a little around the bust area and around the chest area of your blouse when you're connecting your sleeve. If it's something that you're not connecting your sleeve, my dear, from this point you have to take in 1 inch to fit with this shoulder line, and then connect your armhole. That's what you need, because if you take ½ inch, you'll be having excess around there when you finish sewing. So you need to take off that total 1 inch if you're doing an armless. But if you're making a sleeve, you're taking ½ inch inside, then sew with ½ inch to connect your sleeve. So guys, I'm sure this video will really help you in achieving your Princess Dart Bustier. It's a simple knowledge of how to make your simple Dart Bustier. You can see it here. This method is very easy for you. So like this video, subscribe, turn on your notification bell, drop your comments, I'll attend to them, and I'll see you in my next video. Thank you guys. Don't forget to follow us on our Facebook channel there. Follow us on our CuteLuks Stitches there on Facebook. So I'll see you in my next class, guys. Bye.